Welcome to the Before Brunch podcast. I'm Caitlin Davey.
I'm Casey Fitzgerald.
And we are your definitive inside track to anything and everything that's happening around Dubai.
And we're basically going to be with you every Friday morning chatting everything interesting that's going on in Dubai.
So we're discussing everything that everyone else is discussing in a way. And currently everyone in Dubai and around the world is talking about one thing that we regularly talk about, but we're talking about it for a different reason. It's Facebook. And data or data.
And people's privacy and who's sharing what. And yeah, it's huge in the media at the moment, particularly because we had Facebook's chief of global marketing at the STEP conference this week answering questions, which was kind of cool that we were able to get kind of that inside track. And he was hands up admitting that Facebook did share the information of 50 million users through Cambridge Analytica. But do you care as a user?
This is the question I'm asking. Does it matter if some third party has my name, age, and where I live? Is it that big a deal? Because that information's on Twitter as well, and Instagram and LinkedIn and Snapchat. Well, I guess not, Snapchat's a bit more private, but there's a lot of different platforms where information like this is fairly available. So is it a huge deal in a micro person-to-person thing? Yes, it's a huge deal for the company, but is it a huge deal on a personal level?
It's the bigger picture that you need to look at, and I think it's funny because Elon Musk and his 2 million followers on Facebook, they're just gone because he's wiped that page, but we haven't seen a huge number of individual users wipe the page because people are thinking, do I really care? But the Cambridge Analytica scandal, which has started this whole buzz surrounding Facebook at the moment, is the wider picture that individuals should probably be looking at, because you may not think it affects you, but if your information and your friends' information has been taken and it's led to 50 million users, what information they shared is used to sway a political campaign, then maybe you should care.
Maybe I should.
You know the only way to figure this out, right?
What?
Instagram poll.
Or a Twitter poll. But how much information do we have to put on there then to get the poll, and will people engage? Because we don't know if they're worried about data.
But it's data, but do you care enough to delete your Facebook page? Because that's a good question, because there's so much on it and you're like, okay, it's affecting a wider picture, but it's got pictures from 2015 that I may want to access at some point that I cannot be bothered to download.
I think this is especially relevant here because Facebook's such a fundamental part of keeping in touch with people from your native country. And it's how I talk to my mom every day is on Messenger. Phone calls are expensive. Skype's now been blocked. It's not time economical to Skype or video chat regularly anyway, so it's that back and forth. And people in Australia, they don't use WhatsApp, so Facebook has been a crucial channel for me to keep in touch with people in Australia, and I think a lot of Dubai expats would be similar.
Yeah, like you said, Skype is blocked, and we don't have a huge number of communication apps to fall back on. And Facebook is that one. There are over 2 billion users in the world, so in every country you'll find people on Facebook, and it's so easy. But if you know that the wider picture that you're swaying a political campaign, yeah, do you want to get rid of your Facebook page?
Well, the thing I have issue with is swaying a political campaign is more on the onus of the reader to investigate the information they're being presented. And this is this huge hate campaign towards clickbait, but at least clickbait's making you click, not just read a headline, you have to click onto the article to get a bit more information. So then you have to read 3 lines on a story instead of 1 line, which might give you more context. So isn't it better that people are having to read a bit more, and by being swayed, if you're that easily swayed, wouldn't you be that easily swayed in any way, shape or form?
But when you say, yeah, that's a good point, but when you say giving people they need to be reading more, it's like ticking a box saying, do you agree with the terms and conditions? And if you are like, maybe I'll read a bit into it, and it's like 10 long pages, can anyone hold their hands up and say they've actually read the full terms and conditions of any app?
This is true. I haven't ever read a terms and conditions, I think. What do you think is the fair amount of public information that companies could access for people?
I think of my information in terms of my Instagram page because it's open. It's funny because I don't care that it's open because I don't share anything that I'm that embarrassed about. But then again, what if a brand was to come and use my picture in an advert? Does that change it? Like, would I... Because it belongs to Instagram now, right?
Yes.
So
it's still your creative property.
Yeah.
But Instagram has freedom to use it.
So if Instagram were to use my images, I'd like a bit of kickback for that. Yeah,
well, you want to tag in the handle, right?
No, cash money. What about you? I mean, what do you share? What are your levels of privacy?
Well, I guess I'm more open than other people, but that's because my job's a bit more public. So my email's in my bio because I need to be contactable for stories. I like to think people can approach me with a good story and I'll investigate it. My age, I'm pretty open with making jokes because I'm turning 30 next month, so that's fine.
Happy that you're joking about it. Nice.
My full name's there, and there's plenty of pictures. Everyone knows where I work, so what I do, what country I come from, and I think people know my political view because I'm a bit outspoken about that publicly on my Twitter.
Mm-hmm. And what about people taking that information and rolling with it to create something horrific? Donald Trump.
When you say horrific, what's horrific?
Donald Trump being elected.
That is horrific, but that I wouldn't have voted for him. Like, I wouldn't have been manipulated or swayed on that because I'm too far to the other end of the spectrum. It's the people who are on the cusp that are easily swayed. That's the issue, is those people. They're the people that you can manipulate with data, but the people who are too far gone, you know, there's always hard left and hard right, and then there's the people in the middle who are the swing voters.
Yeah.
They're the ones that can be manipulated by headlines and data.
Which is interesting as headline writers.
Yes. We do cop a bit of flack for that, but I think we do all right.
Yeah, it depends. Clickbait. Next issue. People take offense to the fact that they need to click on an article, and all I'm saying with my platform, Hi SoundCloud, is, I mean, our jobs are based on writing good journalism and maybe withholding a bit of information, but giving you the full inside story once you get in.
Yeah, we want people to come to our site, not just scroll through Facebook, because Facebook steals your data, and we will not do that.
I don't know why people get so upset with clickbait.
It's just, people are angry these days.
I guess it's how it's done.
Netizens are angry people.
So speaking of digital manipulation, has it ever affected you in real life?
So, me, no, but I have a great story. Mm-hmm. Which happened to one of my good friends, but I'd like to stress it was not me because it's quite funny. Now, in the UAE, there is the usage of dating apps is there. Tinder, Bumble, Inner Circle, Happen. And it's, let's call it romantic networking. So, my friend...
That's such a polite term for Tindering.
My friend was in the UAE and she was on one of the apps. I can't remember which one it was exactly. And she was talking to this guy and it was back and forth. And he was in Oman because she was planning to relocate to Oman for her job. So she was chatting to him about moving there and getting tips. And so it was quite a friendly chat. It was back and forth. Oh, please tell me, like, where's good to live? What do I need to know about setting up an apartment? All this kind of stuff. And he was an American guy, and I think he was ex-military, or he was military, because there's a lot of military based in the kind of outskirts of the cities in this region. So she was talking to this guy who was in Oman being very helpful, and it went on, I think she said it went on for about 8 weeks of back and forth talking every day. And
it's a lot of time investment.
Yeah. And so she was going to Oman to scope out an apartment one weekend, and they'd been talking for 8 weeks, and it'd been quite romantic. Like, it was almost, they hadn't met, but it was almost to the point where they would have been in a relationship. So she's packing her bags to go to Oman to have a look for an apartment, and she's texting the guy, and he's like, oh, I can pick you up from the airport if you want. She was like, that's a bit intense. He's going, oh, well, I'll show you around anyway and pick you up if you want. She was like, oh, I don't know, that's a bit much, like we haven't met. And then he was like, okay, we'll meet in a coffee shop after you've gone to your hotel. So she lands in Oman, goes to the hotel, and then he's like, oh, I think meeting in an hour or something. He's like, I need to tell you something before we meet.
No.
So her heart's sinking. And you know, I think women here are a bit like, okay, is he married? Is he, you know, a crazy alien? Is he, you don't know. It's just a lot of things go through your head when they say, I need to tell you something. So she's like, oh my God, what? And he said, well, you may not recognize me when we meet. She was like, why? And so then it's like, oh, has he been in a horrible accident? What could be true? And he's like, well, I'm not a 6'4" American military guy. Okay. And then sent a picture of himself. And he had clearly he'd stolen someone else's photos, was a completely different person. Like, nothing was as it had been described. And so she was just going like, what? And how do you react? Because I don't think it's the superficial thing. I think some people would say, oh, how superficial. But this person has systematically lied to her for 2 months.
There is no coming back from that. He was deceiving her into thinking something totally different. And when you have a vision of someone and then it turns out to be completely different, you should never be with the liars. If men are liars, cut them straight away, 100%. So what did your friend do? So
she said, I can't believe this. I feel really deceived. And then he kind of went off on one and was like, you're so superficial. I can't believe this is an issue. You said that you liked me for my personality. How can you... And he had the audacity to be angry at her.
The warning signs are just going off in my head.
Yeah. So she didn't meet him, cut it off, blocked him because he was still abusing her via WhatsApp, and never saw or spoke to him. But I thought it was unfortunate at the time. She can laugh about it now, but it just kind of ties in with that whole data manipulation. Like, I really feel like he took advantage of a situation.
He really did. And what's scary is going to Oman, like, there are only a certain number of flights and only a certain number of hotels. So, like, he could have really, I don't know, found her and been abusive.
Yeah, imagine if we had have pursued it.
But it's just that whole fear of the unknown. And I've never been catfished, but you hear different stories of filters and people changing how they look a little bit.
Oh, everyone puts photos that they look good in. Like, everyone looks a bit better on their profiles than they do in real life.
A little bit younger.
A little bit slimmer. A little bit shorter for women, taller for guys, I think. A little more makeup.
I'm sure you have a picture beside a tall friend or a short friend. But I was going on a date recently, and you know the way you're a little bit nervous, because like I said, it's fear of the unknown. And as I was driving there, he sends a message and he goes, I'm just actually here with my girlfriend. That's cool, right? And I was like, my heart just stopped.
Wait, you were going on a date?
A Tinder date, first ever Tinder date. And he said something about his girlfriend, really casual, just popped it in and said like, what time are you going to be here at? My heart stopped. I thought, and I just said, I hope you're joking. I was like, I'm not able for that on a first date.
What was he intending to happen?
I think it was, I don't know, trying to freak me out a little bit. And it worked. And I was a little bit nervous. But it actually kind of broke the ice when I saw him, because he clarified soon after that he actually obviously wasn't bringing his girlfriend. But it was a funny icebreaker.
Wait, so he didn't have a girlfriend?
No. And
you still went on the date?
I was in the taxi on the way to the date.
Oh, I think I would have turned around.
It was on Shake's side. There's no going back.
So, speaking of internet dating profiles, there's some lovely new pictures circulating on the internet of you and I.
Oh my gosh. If you've clicked on this Lovin Before Brunch podcast, you will see probably the most extra pictures I've ever been taken of me in my life. It was an unreal experience.
It genuinely was brilliant though. So we were at Rockfish in Jumeirah Al Naseem, and had all this lavish kind of spread in front of us, and the sun kind of setting and the Burj Al Arab in the background, and it was iconic. And
it was a bit of a joke at the same time, because you have Kate and myself, and we had Richie, who is he's our in-house videographer and photographer, and he's great. And he was trying to make us look natural. And Kate has a certain way about her that she can kind of just turn it on.
Oh yeah, I'm extra, and extra is my natural state.
Yes. And then I think I felt kind of uncomfortable a little bit in every pose.
You were a little more rigid than I was, I think.
I wouldn't use the word rigid. I would use the word
uncomfortable.
Yeah, uncomfortable. But it's so funny because, I've looked at pictures of people. I've looked at Instagram and people kind of looking so natural in all these poses, and people make it look so easy, but to look extra, to look like a model is not as easy as it looks.
It's funny how difficult it can be and how much effort you have to put in to look relaxed in a photo. It's ironic because people will say, oh, just relax, and then you're like, I'm trying to relax, I can't, because I'm standing in front of a camera.
And the whole trying to laugh naturally, which did not work at all because we looked like broken hyenas. But it was such a funny experience. And yeah, that was unforgettable for sure.
You'll be seeing those photos on both our Tinders. Casey was on the left and I was on the right. So
I love how your Aussie accent kind of comes in so much, that Kath and Kim. Right?
Swings in when I'm talking about things.
But yeah, Instagram models, how do you do it? Send me your tips.
And let us know what you think of the photo shoot, because we might have to do another one if there's one. We took 800 photos. Hopefully there's a few good ones there. We found a couple already.
But what we were trying to get across in it is, this is the Before Brunch podcast, and we kind of had this kind of excessive Dubai plan, and it literally is the most excessive Dubai brunch that you spread that you could see. So I feel like there will be some comments about that for sure.
I think that it was the most Dubai you could get in one photo. It's like two girls dressed up with glasses of champagne and seafood all over the table, beach views, clear skies, Burj Al Arab at a Jumeirah hotel. Does it get any more Dubai than that?
No.
I guess there's flip sides to Dubai, but that's the kind of image we want. Does it get any more Dubai brunch than that?
Does it get it? And we're trying to get across that we're just something for the girls, a little bit of a chat. We don't really have a limit on what we're talking about, just what we think that the rest of Dubai is talking about. We just want to give our humble opinions on it, right?
Humble yet extra opinions. So you're listening to the Lovin Dubai Before Brunch podcast.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, which means tomorrow's Saturday.
Yes.
Which is pretty exciting because the Lovin Dubai Mega Yacht Brunch is on tomorrow.
And if you've seen pictures, it is kind of like the experience that you will remember. Like, it's not just for Instagram, it's actually just like a lot of fun.
Yeah, speaking of extra Dubai experiences, this is like the ultimate. It's on a mega yacht. Like, it's not a boat party, it's a mega yacht brunch. It's got amazing 5-star catering. There's a cinema room on board. There's a pool. There's a nightclub. There's 2 different floors with DJs.
There is a bartender who is on the ball with the drinks. So I think that's key. So as soon as the boat leaves, drinks start, music start, there's, what's the name of the DJ?
DJ Tim Cheddar's playing the pop music upstairs.
Yes, and there's another DJ downstairs. Like, it's just mad. It's like 4 hours of a Saturday afternoon. Good fun. Good clean fun. Messy fun.
Fun and sun. So that's, the tickets are available now, and this is on for the next, it's on April 7, and then we're going to announce some more brunches due to popular demand, but the March 31 and April 7 tickets are on sale now on Platinum List. It's $149 for the non-alcoholic package, $299 for the premium beverage package, which includes all your favourite drinks, and then $499 for the VIP, which includes access to a special private VIP area.
And some bubbles.
And a jacuzzi, which also has bubbles.
I think the VIP is really nice for private parties. So if you're going with maybe like a hen party, or if you have a group of friends over, because it's your own private area, and then everyone kind of just congregates at the pool and parties for like 2 hours. And it's such a nice Saturday thing because it ends at 5, and then you have your 4 hours in the sun, 4 hours of drinks, and then you can just go home and chill, or meet us up Pier 7.
And upload all your photos to Instagram.
Hashtag Lovin.
Hashtag Lovin Brunch.
Hashtag I'm on a boat. Speaking of brunches,
I have so many opinions about brunches.
Are they positive or negative?
It varies. When it's a mega yacht brunch, it's always positive. When it's a brunch at Rockfish, it's positive. But I actually wrote an article which has had quite an interesting reaction about brunches and their closing times.
Okay.
So, I was at a brunch and it was due to finish at 4, and they said last drinks at 3:30, which most brunches do. This brunch was one of the more expensive ones in the city. It was more than 600 dirhams, and they said last drinks. I had 2. They said you can only have 1, so they took 1 off me when I was at the table. It was 4:05, and the security came up and told me to get out, and kind of tried to evacuate our table. We weren't rowdy. This was someone's 40th birthday. Like, this wasn't a big, noisy affair. And
are you going to name and shame?
No.
Fair enough.
But it just, because the reason I'm not going to name and shame is because so many brunches do this, and it's so unfair. If I'm paying 600 dirhams, and these hours are getting shorter, like they're starting later, they're finishing earlier. And
what brunches will realise is that if they provide a great experience, the community talks, and like the good brunches going on, and it makes you want to go to them. And I don't know if it's a policy of this place finishing at 4, but if they're charging upwards of, what did you say, upwards of 500 dirham, 600 dirham, and then asking people to leave at 4, like, it's not really on. And as things become more expensive in Dubai, people just aren't going to pay. Do you think you caught a waiter on an unlucky day, or do you think that's just standard across the board?
It was a security guard, which felt more intentional. And it was like they were clearing people out of the restaurant. It wasn't a one guy policy, it was a across the board policy. And it was frustrating because they're just going to tip those drinks down the drain. I know they don't want rowdy people, but this was a party brunch. This was one of the big kind of festive ones with drink stations everywhere and live music. And
so intrigued.
So it was frustrating in that, because I've been to great brunches. I went to Vida Downtown's brunch, and they let us sit there till 7:30, just because we were just sitting and chatting, and the sun was going down. It's that beautiful poolside. They just left us to it.
That's nice.
And I've had quite a few good experiences. Waldorf Astoria did the same thing, where it was well and truly dark before we left. But it's just, you know, you're in such a beautiful ambience and you pay so much to be there. You want to have that extra bit of time.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie, like, I love the whole brunch thing and of stockpiling. So it gets to 3:30, they call last orders, which is also a thing. I mean, if you finish your brunch at 4, why are you calling last orders at 3:30? But if you're at a party brunch and you stockpile and you have a couple, it's just part of the experience. And I know you're saying you weren't.
It's like a good
brunch.
Challenge to stockpile.
Yeah, and if you have a couple, it's just part of it. And the restaurants that are just going to be sarky, then they can toss off and we'll find somewhere new.
But I got quite a few comments saying, "Get over it, Dubai problems, princess." Which this podcast probably makes me sound like a bit of a Dubai princess, but it's fair for me to be annoyed when I am paying such a huge amount of money and I'm not made of money, and to be paying that amount for a service and then have it ripped from my hands at 4:05.
Literally.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I read some of the comments, and sometimes when we write opinion pieces about things, we rarely name and shame because we don't want to, you know, hurt a business anyway, but you just want to get your opinion out there, and you always find that people do agree. But in this case, if people are telling you to stay at home instead on a Friday, you know, don't complain about it. You should just stay at home, save your money. It's just not an argument, you know, if it's someone's birthday or if you want to do something, you want to have a celebration, you're happy to pay the money, you're happy to go and enjoy it. Staying at home should not be the argument. The argument is the brunches should be providing a great experience for the amount of money that they're charging.
Exactly. And this was a birthday brunch. I didn't want to go. I don't believe in spending 600 dirhams on a 4-hour experience unless it's skydiving or something of that caliber. But it was my friend's birthday. It was his 40th birthday. So I wanted to celebrate because he chose the venue. I'm not going to argue. It's that Dubai kind of paradigm.
When the birthday brunches roll in, there's nothing you can do to get out of it.
Yeah, and this is a standard Dubai resident issue. Is so many friends have welcome brunches, leaving brunches, hi, my mum's here brunches, birthday brunches, engagement brunches, you know, and you need to go to them because they're your friends, but you don't want to go and spend 700 dirhams every Friday for a 3-hour feast.
I guess it just depends on how many friends you have inviting you to these, but yeah, the whole thing of the celebration brunches, because you can't say no. So bringing us back to the main point is you want to get your money's worth, and if you have a bad experience, it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth, especially if it's 4 p.m. and you need to go and find an after party, and then if you're like people, you'll be up until 4 a.m. in the morning, and that's 12 hours, and if you've only gotten 3 hours for 600 dirham, you have an expensive day ahead of you.
It works out to be over 1,000 dirhams, I think, in a day if you're not careful.
Not including the dress, Caitlin.
Yeah.
And then the blowout. No.
That is us done for the Lovin Dubai Before Brunch podcast. We hope you have a lovely brunch now that we've just ranted about expensive ones for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, we hope you find the best one in town and let us know, because Caitlin's obviously had a terrible experience and she needs a new one.
Hopefully they don't kick you out. We did have a great one at Rockfish though, so it's not all bad.
It's not all bad.
Have a lovely Friday and we'll see you next week.
Happy Friday. Thanks for tuning in.